The Zodiac Killer, a name that has echoed in the annals of crime for over half a century, stirring fear and intrigue in equal measure. Between the late 1960 seconds and early 1970 seconds, a series of cryptic letters, ciphers, and grisly murders shocked the world. As a shadowy figure known only as Zodiac, taunted police and media with promises of further bloodshed. To this day, the identity of the Zodiac Killer remains one of the greatest mysteries in American criminal history, feeding speculation, conspiracy theories, and cultural fascination. The story begins in the quiet, unsuspecting regions of Northern California, where peaceful communities would soon be plunged into terror. On the 20th of December 1968, the Zodiac claimed its first known victims, David Faraday and Betty Lou Jensen, a young couple enjoying a date on a rural stretch of road near Vallejo. The serene night was shattered when a man approached their car, gun in hand. He shot both teenagers with cold precision, leaving them dead at the scene. What had seemed like a tragic but isolated crime would soon reveal itself to be something far more chilling. Just months later, on the 4th of July 1969, another couple, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau, were attacked under similar circumstances. The couple was parked in a secluded area when a man approached their vehicle and began shooting. While Darlene tragically lost her life, Michael, despite being critically wounded, survived. His description of the attacker was vague, but essential. A white male in his late 20s to early 30s, with a heavy-set build and short, light brown hair. It was a clue, but far from enough to identify the killer. It was after this second attack that the Zodiac made himself known. On the 1st of August 1969, 3 separate San Francisco Bay Area newspapers received nearly identical letters from someone claiming responsibility for the recent murders. The letters were chilling, filled with cryptic boasting and bizarre demands. But most terrifying of all, they contained a cipher, an encrypted message that, the Zodiac claimed, would reveal his true identity. He taunted the police and the public alike, daring them to solve the puzzle before he struck again. Zodiac letters and notes, including one declaring that each new victim meant "the more slaves I will collect for my afterlife," arrived until March 1971. Then Zodiac went silent until the 29th of January 1974, when he sent a new letter that noted, "Me, 37, SFPD, 0." This was seen as a claim he'd taken 37 lives. A few more letters and postcards arrived that year. The code, consisting of 408 characters, was swiftly tackled by a local couple, Donald and Betty Harden, who managed to decipher it within a week. But instead of revealing the killer's name, the solution only deepened the mystery. It was an eerie message about hunting humans for sport, comparing the thrill of killing to a game. "I like killing people because it is so much fun." There was no remorse, no regret, just a disturbing joy in the act of taking lives. And still, the killer's identity remained hidden. The Zodiac's next confirmed attack took place on the 27th of September 1969 at Lake Berryessa. This time, the killer chose a more hands-on approach. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, a young couple enjoying a picnic by the lake, were approached by a man wearing a hooded costume. He claimed to be an escaped convict in need of their car, but instead of leaving after taking their belongings, he tied them up and stabbed them both repeatedly. Brian survived the attack, but Cecilia succumbed to her injuries 2 days later. What made this crime particularly unsettling was the killer's methodical nature. He even left a message scrawled on Hartnell's car door, marking the date of the attack and taking credit for the earlier murders. Less than 2 weeks later, the Zodiac struck again, this time in San Francisco. On the 11th of October, 1969, cab driver Paul Stein was shot in the head at point-blank range while driving in the city's upscale Presidio Heights neighborhood. This killing was different from the others. Stein was not a young couple, nor was he in a secluded area. The murder took place in a densely populated urban setting, which marked a bold escalation. Witnesses saw the suspect, described as a man between 25 and 30 years old, calmly wipe down the taxi before walking away. Police missed him by mere minutes, and a composite sketch was drawn based on witness descriptions. In another audacious move, the Zodiac sent a piece of Paul Stein's blood-stained shirt to the San Francisco Chronicle, along with a letter claiming responsibility for the murder. His letters became increasingly bizarre and taunting, mocking law enforcement's inability to catch him, and he continually hinted at future killings. He claimed to have committed as many as 37 murders, though only 5 deaths have been definitively linked to him. While the Zodiac was enjoying his game of cat and mouse with the police and media, Investigators were desperate to catch him. The FBI and local law enforcement agencies devoted significant resources to the case, and a variety of suspects were investigated over the years. One of the most prominent suspects was Arthur Leigh Allen, a convicted child molester who fit the description given by witnesses and had circumstantial ties to the Zodiac crimes. However, despite strong suspicion, no definitive evidence linking Allen to the murders was ever found, and he died in 1992 without being formally charged. The killer's infamous ciphers have been another source of intrigue and frustration. While the first cipher was solved relatively quickly, others have remained mysteries for decades. The most famous of these is the so-called 340 cipher, sent to the San Francisco Chronicle in November 1969. For years, cryptographers, puzzle enthusiasts, and law enforcement officers tried to crack the code, but it wasn't until 2020, more than 50 years after the cipher was sent, that a team of amateur codebreakers finally deciphered it. The message was yet another taunting note from the Zodiac, full of the same twisted bravado, but again, it offered no clues as to his true identity. Despite the horror and tragedy of the Zodiac's crimes, his legacy has persisted in popular culture, feeding into films, books, and television series. The Zodiac became a symbol of the unknown, a faceless terror lurking in the shadows, forever out of reach. His ability to evade capture has only added to his mystique, turning him into something of a criminal legend. Movies like David Fincher's Zodiac and countless documentaries have attempted to dissect his psychology, the investigation, and the countless theories surrounding his identity. Today's more advanced DNA techniques offer the tantalizing possibility of a definitive answer regarding who the Zodiac is or was. But police in the 1,960 seconds and 70 seconds had no idea that DNA analysis would arrive on the scene. Therefore, some evidence was mishandled or the chain of custody was broken, and pieces of evidence remain spread across various law enforcement agencies. In short, few things are available to analyze. But in 2018, the Vallejo Police Department announced plans to submit some evidence in their possession for up-to-date DNA testing. A full DNA profile would make it possible to search open-source genealogy databases for a match. Another California killer, the Golden State Killer, was apprehended in 2018 thanks to this approach. But in the case of the Zodiac, no results have been reported thus far. Even as new theories emerge and new evidence is examined, the Zodiac case remains a haunting reminder of how elusive justice can be. The killer's taunts, "I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner," still echo in the minds of those who study the case. It's a chilling thought. A man who murdered without remorse, relishing the fear and confusion he created, and yet managed to disappear into the annals of history without leaving behind any concrete proof of his identity. The story of the Zodiac Killer is more than just a tale of murder. It's a story of obsession. Law enforcement, amateur detectives, and even the public have been captivated by the mystery for over 50 years. His case represents the ultimate challenge. A ghost who committed heinous crimes, left clues as breadcrumbs, and then vanished without a trace. It's as though he wanted to be remembered not just for the lives he took, but for the riddle he became. In the end, the Zodiac Killer may never be identified, and his motives may never be fully understood. But his legend lives on, a dark chapter in American history that continues to fascinate and terrify in equal measure. The name Zodiac will forever be associated with the unknown, a symbol of the darkest corners of the human psyche, where reason and madness intertwine, and where some questions may never find their answers.